And let's remember your financial projections. This, as we talked about, 8 out of 10 businesses fail, and 82% of those businesses fail because they run out of cash. Remember that. So your financial projections, it's all about the money. You have to be able to capture all your costs and have accurate sales forecasts. You cannot fluff it here, folks. You got to make sure that you are honest with yourself. Remember the cash flow training we went through and how critical it is, the terms and how people pay you and what happens when you lower your price? This is where you win or lose. This is what keeps companies healthy, and this is what makes companies close. It's that simple, and you need to be very honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Don't fudge the numbers. Hey, 95% of entrepreneurs are too optimistic. They miss their forecast. I was too optimistic when I started. I thought I was going to go faster and so forth, and I learned very quickly, hey, Scott's a nice guy, but guess what? People aren't going to buy from me because I'm a nice guy. They better believe in my product. And my product happened to take testing for a long time. So I would actually give my product away for free, and it would take people 6 months to decide if I really was a good product or not. So remember, you have to have something different. You have to be able to cover that with your cash flow. Become an expert. Make sure your numbers are conservative. Be an expert on your numbers. When you're going and you're trying to get funding and so forth, and you talk to a bank, if they ask you a question, you go, they're going to lose faith in you, they're not going to loan you any money, right? It's better to underpromise and overperform. Go in there with nice conservative numbers. Be honest with your bank. Be honest with your investors, whoever they are, and say, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I think I can do. And remember, there's hidden costs when you start business. These are killers, folks. Health insurance. Health insurance. If you decide to go on an individual plan, be from $500 to $1,500, depending on how big your deductibles are. And guess what? It's not as stable as it is when you're in a group. If God forbid something happens to you and you have a claim, your rates can go through the roof because you're only one person or a family or whatever. So you really got to consider that. You know, the other thing is if you got equipment, everything breaks. Just remember, everything breaks. If you think it's not going to break, it breaks. You got tools, you got facilities, you got your car, everything breaks. So you got to remember that not just when you buy a piece of equipment or you have something, no matter what it is, your computer breaks. They get viruses, right? Everything breaks. Everything costs more than the original purchase price. So you have to have that budgeted every month. Now we're going to list some additional items to make sure that are in your numbers. Please review this list. Tip number 4, the cost of customer acquisition. Remember, the customers don't generally just call up and start ordering stuff, right? Depending on what your business is, you may have to fly to see them. You may have to go out and see them. You have to give them free samples like me. I was driving, giving free samples, and I had to wait 6 months before a customer would say, yeah, okay, I'll give your product a try. All that is cost money, right? I'm still paying my bills. I still had the mortgage on the building. I still had my lights and my electric and all the other stuff, and I had to eat and, hotel rooms and so on. So remember, the cost of maintaining a customer. If a customer is using like a perishable item, let's say you're selling paper towels or whatever, you're gonna have to make sure that customer buys from you month after month after month. You have to go see that customer, see what else their needs are. They may be out of state. You may go there and they're not even there, right? I've had that happen many times where I've driven 200 miles, and the customer got called out in an emergency, then I had to stay overnight, hotel rooms, right? There's customer acquisition costs, there's customer retention costs. You need to evaluate those. No matter what your business is, if it's an online business, you need to evaluate what is my customer retention cost as well. Okay, back to your office. Yeah, if you're going to start hiring people, guess what? Payroll, if you're going to pay someone $10,000 a year, it costs way more than $10,000 a year. You got taxes, Medicare costs, Social Security, workman's comp, unemployment insurance, cost to administer all this stuff. You got to make sure you do everything legally. You got to make sure your paperwork's into the IRS. You got to make sure that the W-2 forms are put out on time. There's all these other costs associated with employees. So make sure you have a good background before you hire your first employee and understand what the total cost of an employee is. It can't be 30, 40, 50% more than you're paying them. Those are real numbers. Number 6, when you start out, you might have supplier costs increase. Remember, you're probably going to start out small. And your suppliers or supplier, if you're sole sourced, you're not a big player to them. And they think that you become a pain in the neck because you're changing things a lot. All of a sudden they can raise their prices. What are you going to do if you're sole sourced and your supplier raises their price and they knock you out of the market? You got to look at having a contract. You got to be selling everybody. You got to sell your supplier. You have to sell everybody. You got to sell your customers. Remember that. Suppliers really have a good hold on you when you're starting out, especially when you're small. As you get bigger, you'll get more leverage. But at the beginning, really the leverage is with the supplier. You should treat it that way. way. Once you have the right plan, you have the right capital. We talked a lot about the capital. Remember, capital is your blood. You don't have it, you'll collapse. You can't figure it out as you go. You just can't figure it out. You just can't say, oh, geez, I'll worry about that later. We talk about the desert thing. You're walking through the desert, I'll find some water somewhere. You can't take that approach. It's too dangerous. That's why 82% of the companies run out of cash, is because they took that approach. If you're prepared for what's going to come forward, and this is what we're here to teach you, then you have a much better chance of success. It's not to scare you, it's to be prepared. Preparation creates good luck. Remember that. You never need to, if you're going to provide your own capital or find investors or work with banks, right? Here's some strategies that we're going to give you to work with banks. Okay. Number one, make sure you personally have a good credit history. Clean up your credit. When you go to the bank, the first thing you're going to do is run your social security number and see what you're made of. If you have your business running, they're going to probably want 2 years history to see what your cash flow is like. Are you showing growth? Are you showing a more positive cash flow when you started? If you started with some cash flow and you're going this way with your cash flow, it's going to be way harder to do it. They're going to look at your experience. Who is this person coming to me? Do they have experience in this industry? Or are they just kind of rolling the dice and they were in something over here and they decided to go to a totally new industry? Again, credit is critical. Your personal credit, your business credit. Pay your bills on time when you start. Make sure your suppliers are as important as your customers. This is what the bank's going to look at. Remember, if you were going to loan money to a friend who was starting a business, you'd ask these same questions, right? It's just totally logical. Hey, what are you going to do? How much money do you have? When can I expect my return? What's your business plan? How thorough is it, right? These are the questions you would ask a friend if they were asking you for money to start a business. Remember your business plan. Polish that thing up. Get help with that. Ask experts to help you with your business plan. They think of things you don't think of. So when you go into a bank, you have your business plan. It's got to be rock solid and bulletproof. That's what you got to be. You got to walk in there feeling rock solid about your business. You got to exude confidence so the banker believes in you, and then you're going to get a better interest rate as well. The more risk you are, the higher your interest rate goes. The less risk you are, the lower interest rate you goes. The less risk you can convince them, the more money you can get for a lower interest rate. And we've talked about how interest and cash flow affects you. Tip 5, there's other resources. There's not just banks, right? You can go to Small Business Center, Women's Business Center, Veterans Outreach, the SBA, right? All these folks can help you put your plan together. They might be able to cover some of your loan. They'll guarantee a portion of your loan. They can do that. We work with banks. They have banks that work with them. So there's all kinds of other opportunities to get funding. You need to explore all of them. It's so easy today with the internet, funding for entrepreneurs or whatever you got to do in your search engines. Explore every single opportunity. Don't leave any rock unturned, because you never know when you're going to get something. And 1 point of interest can create and turn into thousands and thousands of dollars. So every quarter point, every point of interest makes a big difference. When you secure your first loans, you're probably going to need collateral, right? You're going to need your house. You're going to need a car. You probably need a co-signer, some sort of guarantee, because the bank's going to want to make sure they get their money back. If you fail, they're going to want your house or your car or something. Makes total sense if you think about it. They need some sort of security. The banks will take some risk, but they also want some security. So you may have both. You may have $10,000 equity in your house, and you're trying to loan 20 grand. The house will cover half, maybe a co-signer for the other part, and the bank will take a risk on some money. So remember, you got to put a whole package together for your risk. The last item is to consider, are you going to be profitable? Is your business model profitable? Some people don't even think about that. What are people willing to pay for your product? Is the whole thing profitable? Now you're looking at all your cost. You're not just looking, oh geez, I buy something for $4 and I sell it for 10. We realize it doesn't work that way, because you talk about your cash flow. Now, okay, I got all these costs in here and I'm going to sell for here. What's my margin? Am I profitable? Will people pay for that? It's not about sales, it's about profitable sales. Anyone can get sales. Remember the great old Montgomery Ward? That was one of the biggest companies in the United States back in the 1900s, and they started having sales and no profit, and what happened? They no longer exist. So there's a lot of businesses out there that I'm sure you can think of. They say, oh, they would never go under. Well, guess what? In 1900, no one ever thought Montgomery Wards would go under, and they went under. So remember, it's all about profitable sales. Seems simple. Seems like, Scott, why are you even talking about this? But you have to sit down and evaluate what is the true profitability. This is your financial pillar, right? This is your ability to execute. We talk about this constantly. Who will buy it? Why will they buy it? Will they buy it again? Right? Well, you just get them once and then they'll never go back. That happens a lot. People get this great product and it doesn't work, and then they never buy it again. So you might have a blip in sales, and if you don't have a good product stand behind it, you're not going to. So remember, who are you competing against? What are the competition going to do? So when you're starting, you got your niche. What happens when other people discover your risk? What happens when the competition says, hey, wait a second, I'm losing some money from XYZ company here. This startup guy, I got to go after him. I got to do something. What's the price the customer will pay? How many can you sell legitimately in a year? How profitable will you be at the end of the year? These are the projections you need to look at. And what happens when sales increase? What kind of resources are you going to need? You need an employee, or you need a bigger computer, more capital for your purchase orders. These are things you got to consider, not just because sales grow, you also got to make sure that your pillar is strong. Remember, your plan for building a business is your blueprint. It's like a blueprint for a house. You have to cover everything. Remember, 1 + 1 has to equal 2. You can't have 1 + 1 = 3. You can't be fabricating numbers. Be honest, use only accurate numbers. I think we've pushed that hard for you. Use accurate numbers. If you use accurate numbers, your chances for success are much better.